I'm inside the latest version of this demo, and I just put it on the same Hightail site as the last demo, but I'll just repost the link. So here's my famous smooth candles. This is my version of cloud trading. It's just keeps smoothing the candle out. And the line chart, though, is the time frame. So somebody asked me about this. They wanted to know any practical tips and suggestions, any pointers to use to trade on this MT4 demo. I'd say the first thing is go to the line chart. Now, this is nobody's trading with a line chart. If you see somebody trading with a line chart, there's only one guy. I subscribe to his channel because he traded with a line chart. If you trade with a line chart, then you can see the forest for the trees. You can see what happens when they bring somebody into the hospital. They always take an x-ray of them, regardless of what else is going on. And they just say, you know what, of course, if they're bleeding to death, right, we take care of that. But you have to see what is the structure of the market, what is the... And so, when I say structure, I mean the frame. And so the time frame is the frame. The frame is the edge of your screen. So everybody's looking at the chart, but I mean, I hate to sound like a this is really I'm not trying to insult anybody's intelligence, but this frame here, if I chop it here and I said to you, what's the trade? And I said, I can only tell you this much of the story, only tell you this much of the story. You should be able to know the next trade without looking too far back. If you're looking too far back, for me personally, it's a trip down memory lane I'd rather not. I mean, I can only see, this reminds me of showing up at a party late and people are telling me, you should have seen the chicks that were here earlier. So, you know, right now the only trade I see is put a buy limit on this baby top inside the bottom. And this is a 10 pip grid, so this will be the default template, although I turn the line chart on. I turn off the candles. I know people trade with candles, but it looks like a train wreck. It reminds me of an aerial view of a train yard and the cars are trying to hook up. And I'm like, these guys aren't even on schedule. Whereas when I see a top become a bottom, and it may be sloppy, but there's actually momentum top bottom. If you look at this 4-hour, you connect these mountain peaks, right? But it's happening at an angle. This is your classic breakout pullback. Now, it does come into this deeper than the 20 pip window, but let's face it, you should have buy limits here. You're always buying low and selling high. At least that's what I'm doing. So my next buy limit's got to be here. You got to put a crop of orders right here, a basket, a bin. You need a bin of orders. You can't have one order. You cannot have one order. That's rule one, is diversification. They tell you this all the time. Diversify your portfolio. But what do people do? They put on one stinking trade. And they're like, okay, well, but okay, if you never get filled in this buy limit here, but you didn't lose any money, it's money in the bank. But this is a 4-hour chart. You got all day to place these orders, right? You should be long on something. If it's only for a bounce on a 15-minute chart, like the market's going like this, like really, I mean, has anybody watched a 4-hour chart just keep melting down and think, what in the fuck? 16 hours. I used to watch the yen go down for 20 hours straight. Now, not a higher candle, and I just thought, someday I'm going to have to come up with a trade plan for that, because how are you going to get on that train that just keeps going down? And you can't believe it, right? Are you just going to be putting sell stops in? Maybe. Although I'm not that person to be putting in trend trades like that unless I can see that inside this 4-hour ride that the 15-minute traders are having a party, right? They're going out to the restaurants. The 4-hour, the time frame is so critical. Like this could be, and this was the weekly on the British pound years ago. It's devil's staircase down. It's a math equation. Just sheer down. Like, what the hell you do with that trade? So how do you get on these trains and stuff? And which is your train station? Are you on the 15-minute train or are you on the half-hour train? Now, if you're strictly really on the 5-minute train, you know where your exit door is. You know where you get off and get another bite to eat. Because what's the point of getting in on some? In other words, you may think it's going to go to the moon. This is the time. I mean, how many times has the market retested? 5 times, same area. In other words, it really in the end is not going anywhere. For the person that's trying to make 1,000 pips, they're like looking at it like, what are you doing? Why are you even trading this? Because I'm looking to make 20 pips. Now, certainly if you make your size big enough that you start to build up, you just trade higher frequency or, just take up your size. All of a sudden it's going to feel like, okay, it starts to, but you have to work your way into it, right? You can't get into a car that has 1,000 horsepower, because if you've never driven a car with 1,000 horsepower, you're probably going to wipe out. I mean, if you think you can do what you did in your 100 horsepower, just get grocery getter, right? You could take a grocery getter and put the pedal to the metal. That's like trading a micro account, which is barely trading it. Now, you just can't walk into the other time frames and just go, oh, I'm just going to trade I'm just going to do it like I'm driving. It's just, you wouldn't be able to handle the turns. It's not that you would wipe out, but it's just, I don't know. You have to work your way up to that, I suppose, right? You start off on a even most people that started riding a bicycle started off with the training wheels on there. I mean, I suppose, but yeah, so this also, not getting filled. Now, I got all these cells up here, and I totally, another thing is, this is a 10 pip grid, so you need to have some math skills. Now, this sounds pretty bad if you don't like math, and if you're a pattern trader, you may not pay attention to the math. And it matters, It really does matter. I mean, just because you want to go to the moon, you still have to do the math to see if you got enough fuel to make it there. Because if you don't have enough money in the account to play out every painfully obvious, this stuff isn't obvious. I mean, I just have this for the visual effect, but in the end, it comes down to this line chart. This moving average stuff, you need to have a closing price. If you're running candlesticks, I'm just saying, because the wicks that's where the stops are, right? If that mattered, you just put a, it shouldn't matter. Like, unless you figured out the math of what you're going to risk, so you could sit there and say, well, I'm going to put my stop down, but you're really just going to buy on the framework of the market. And if you want to look at the wicks, you can really zoom in. Just saying, in MetaTrader, there is no fat, pixelated. Here's the candles. Once you go here, what's the point? Hard to really see, like, well, what the fuck's going on here? See, now that zoomed out, now people have this stuff up, and I'm like, they will make these speculations, and they'll go through this whole drama like, well, see, down here. I'm like, but dude, we are here right now. This is the last 16 hours of your life. Did you get laid or not? It's like, did you figure something out or not? So if you put buy limits here and you had buy limits here, when they come back into this and you pick up all these orders, all this stuff, and you ride it to here, but you have to pick up a ton of stuff. You have to pick up and scalp, and to survive, this is 1 week from here to here. Now, if you did my buy low, sell high course, if you took that, it's basically as dumb as placing buy limits at the edge, sell limits at the edge here to catch this pullback, buy limits here to catch that run, Basically complete contrarian trading. Totally antithetical to the trend trader's view of the thing. And the breakout trap here, 50 pip trap. That was your entry here. So I can see all your entries, right? You know you want to sell up here. You know you want to buy if it comes down below here for the bounce to here. But if you put in these orders today, you may not get filled. So then you go down to the smaller time frame. And that's where it becomes a real more work, because for you to take advantage of the moves that are happening there, it's a real, you got to go in and out, in and out. Otherwise, you're just sitting there watching your equity float around, and you're like, well, you know what? If you're going to trade that style, at least this should occur to me. You know, hey, if you can trade that style, why don't you trade another currency pair? Because sitting here watching this water to boil is just not exactly productive. Yes. So the trend's up here, but are you? And another question: are you in big enough? So, how much money do you have left in the account? And right now, at this level, I still have buy limits pending that haven't even got filled, believe it or not. So I'm slightly in, and I think these last for quite a bit of time. But of course it's an uptrend, but you know, here's the top, bottom, the holy grail. Right there on the daily with the cloud confirmation. This was a little rugged to buy here and survive, but here's the top become a bottom, right? Here's the triangle, breakout. It's very simple. If it's too simple, it's no fun for people. See, I can't even look at these candles. Now, I'd rather look at a bar chart. Honestly, I'd rather go Western. Just give me a saddle and a couple of hoofs. Just give me a... See, I can see my momentum structure, which is tilted. It's skewed. It's kind of... these double tops make these double bottoms. See that in time? On the 4-hour... Turn the candles on, it's a real clusterfuck. Here you can see 1, 2, 3 tops. Put your horizontal line here. You know there'll be a bunch of robots and people with money management tools running. So as the market's going up, there's a money management bot of various things causing these huge sell-offs. I mean, just, you know, here it doesn't, this blue area, you really want to get in. This is the contrarian part. You want to buy the blue, even though that's the downtrend or whatever have you. Oversold, right? It's oversold. Not to say that this oversold. Obviously, this on an oscillator, people say, well, I bought oversold, you know, like you said, oh, you blew the account up. Yeah, because this is a massive trend. The whole week, literally turn around on a dime. I mean, if you had bought here and never put a stop in and the market gets here, I don't know if anybody's done that trade, but at the end of the week, you're like, huh. And especially if you sold here and it went down and it came back here and you're like, I mean, I could have taken that money. So it's just a revolving door. There is no trend. In terms of, you know, but that's the Bill Williams. You can't step in the same river twice. And then the other guy took it to the next level. He said, not only that, but you're not the same person when you step in the river. So the time frame. Okay, so we're getting pulled back here. Time frame's a big deal. For especially, how often do you want to babysit this drama here? You know, these markets are so insane that if you're not here on the right day, look at this meltdown here. This is Devil's staircase to the floor here. Look at this meltdown. You got to drop down to if you're looking for a top becoming bottom, there is no peak and valley. So finally, we're at the daily structure. You know, people would be love to get this top here. And if you sold, that's your target. So where is the target for the guy that sold the high coming into, like I said, on the Australia, all those currencies, that's the pivot. That's the closing price. You scalp that. Then you could have scalped it again yesterday because we took out the high by 1 bar. 1 bar. That is a 3-pip window to make like 30 pips, right? Okay, now we're going up. So now I'm looking for a 10-pip run. That's not a lot. I'm not asking that much of these markets. People are asking for a Gartley to complete. Are you out of your fucking mind? Watching these people just it reminds me of people in the backyard with a bow and arrow thinking they're going to hit the moon. Has anybody been able to even get close? Come on. Ridiculous. We torture people, take their money, go to the war room. What a demented way to make money. What fun is that? So here's the daily bar chart. And here you can see the top become a bottom. I should make that a different colored thing, but see that, the candle's too much information. Sorry, it's got an opening price. Like, what the fuck? Who cares? Well, it opened here, but yeah, where did it close? You're not going to count. The problem with these candlesticks is that who cares when it fucking opened? You can't do that. This is like, it's like when you hear the latency of 10 milliseconds. Who cares about 1 second? You have a 1 hour chart, and every second it rolls over, you have the open to the close. Are you kidding me? Well, it opened above the dude. It's 1 second from you have a time frame of an hour. This problem I have candlesticks. They're okay on the daily charts, but you can't take them down to a 1 hour chart. In other words, it closed where it closed. Now, I guess you could. People are trading these candlesticks, but are you serious? How can you keep track of the rhythm of the market? How can you hear the kick drum? This is the kick drum of the market, the closing price. There, I said it. So upset. I don't know, because I guess it's just like, well, you must be one of those old people that's using the closing prices. Yeah. 60 years ago, how about, 60 years ago they were using line. When did line charts go out of fashion? I don't get it. When did skeletons go out of fashion? Who doesn't have a skeleton they're living inside of? And then here's the easy trend line, right? If you want to get all fancy, you're like, okay, confirmed uptrend, right? Forget higher, lower, lower, close, low, blah, 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 blah. Do we have a, can you draw a trend line? An uptrend line. What's the first uptrend line you can draw? Of course, this daily chart, right? This is what creeper gear trading. Oh, gee, it turned around. Looky there. So the trend line. It's so too simple. Goes over people's heads. Gee, broke the trend line down here. Maybe things are changing. Gee, broke the trend line. Maybe things are changing. Gee, broke the trend line. Now, granted, you're going to have to anchor it off this double Twin Peaks. The market's laying out the drama for you. But you certainly want to be buying the trap down there. But as you take this to here, you go, oh, you're waiting for that to break. You're waiting for that to break. Now here you get a perfect break, pull back, top, bottom. Right? Here you would come in here. Now it's getting a little old, though. Not to mention, what's the trend line to break? What is the trend line that we're looking to break? What already broke? This one. This one's holding. So, if you want the confirmation, okay, you got your green cloud. It's an uptrend. Still got to figure how big we can get in and which time frame is going to let us through their door. So if you're going to get on the 15-minute traders, half-hour traders time window, you don't really have to go to that half-hour chart. If you've got a pile of orders that's painfully obvious, so this is where I think the people that think that they have to be on the other time frame are missing out on trades that they just could put orders in here. And all this confirmation stuff is complete and utter bullshit. The only confirmation you need is there enough money in your fucking account. And if there's not, then take a few tickets off. That's it. Let's get a hotkey on this thing today. Well, the broker's offline. But I don't know. You don't. This is a 30 pip deep. All these buy limits are 30 pips deep. They're spread out. Do you really need to go down? Yeah, you could, but that's for people that have a crack pipe in one hand, and they're just in and out, in and out, in and. I mean, But if you're just a person that doesn't want to babysit this absolute insane drama, you don't need to. You can see right here vertically how many pips you would need for these trades. Down here, it would have been the same story for anybody that's not going to babysit this stuff. This is a huge pullback into this top. Now, waiting for that setup, yeah, that's going to take some time. I mean, but here was the sell. The sell was the ricochet off of this, right? It's one man's entries and another man's exit for the people that are trading blow by blow, Scatterbrain. So the trap, always a high probability trade to buy here and dump here. Is this a shoulder? Yes. You have to assume that's a shoulder. As it's coming down into that, you have to speculate, yeah, that's a shoulder. But you can't bet the ranch on that one shoulder. If you're trading in 30 pip windows and you have a 10K spread on micros across here, right? That's your constant. I have every script on the planet in here, but you have to, yeah, this is a 12 pip, it's 3 tickets on 12 pips with a 15 stop, 30 take profit, right? Lasts 8 hours. This is the other thing. How long does this last? Well, if you don't want to babysit these fucking markets, you put in this. That's super tight. 10 pips, 2 tickets, 20 to make 50. It lasts 12 and a half hours. But you can make it anything you want, right? You can make everything designed to put some other stuff in here. Hotkeys. Now, these are because I'm running hotkeys on this today. Because this is the thing that laziness comes in. This is automation. Get a hotkey keyboard or run hotkey macro and then just hit a button. So this is my buy for 10 pips in an hour here, and then I got this is another 1 hour script. So this is going to buy deeper. So if I keep nailing this and I walk away and go out and go for breakfast, I can just load up here. Now this is also an hour, and there's only 2 tickets on that. And I don't think that's going to fill, but it might. It's more likely. Now I really am very wanting to get in more margin here. It's a very small amount. So I'm going to put in this buy a 4K for the next hour, and they could retest this whole wick now. So this is what I'm running on the 1 hour, a 4 hour chart, but that's a 1 hour script. See, the buyers that bought that, their scalpers are already out of that trade. People that buy new lows for the scalp, they bought all the way down to here, and they just dumped. In fact, that was where they wish they could take it to. This is so that's a 12 pip winner, just by hitting a button and laying in that grid, and it comes back. But now it could go down. So I'm sure on the other time frames you can see that, but the problem is if you go to this other time frame, Now you're really going to live in a world where you're going in circles in a circle. You're in a circle within a circle. So you get down to these micro time frames, and you're just in this pool, but you're riding this giant time frame, but you're unaware of it because you're just too close to the if you're a microscopic level and somebody comes in the room, if you're like staring into a microscope, you don't even know they're there. I mean, right? You can't. So you're not dialed into that frame. So here you're waiting to get filled on the pullback because you think it's going to go up. You're an uptrend, right? And you're trying to load up on the pullbacks, which is contrarian for the people on the 5-minute. They're like, they're short from, somebody on the 1 hour is short from like 30 pips above here on this trap. See, I know it doesn't seem, it's counterintuitive. So who's putting sell limits up here with a 10 pip stop to make 20 pips? You just made that trade, right? You just made that trade. It's just, I know it doesn't, people don't like it. They don't like the idea that, oh, you just put a sell? You mean you just put sell limits at new highs and you make money? Yeah. You mean you tell me you put buy limits down here and yeah. It's just like ridiculous because they want to have these amazing the butterfly pattern, right? And then they'll have these percentages how that pattern made money. Well, all butterfly pattern is a trade. It's just how to get in and out of the market. What's going to make a difference whether you can clean up and just you have to have the view of the big picture of the time matters. It's not like if your order lasts all day long and it'll last for say 8 hours or 12 hours, like some pile of orders, pennies you put in there that are all just laid out in this bizarre matrix, then for that to play out, there's two approaches. You let it play out, or you intervene because you can see, what, I guess later on you could do that, but I mean, for the most part, it's just sheer exposure. It's about exposure, right? If you're streaking, right, people that run around nude, they typically don't walk around nude, like unless they're in the news camp. The idea of streaking is that you have your clothes off, you're running around. So if you put in an order that lasts for an hour or 2 hours, you're kind of like streaking through the news. If the order sits there all day long, you're like, wow, this is, you may pull your order because you think, yeah, I know I'm trading this structure concept, but boy, I don't know. That's where you're gonna come in and screw up your trade plan. But to be aware of the time frame, I always look at the chart and I ask myself, on this 4-hour chart, what is the likelihood in the next 16 hours that they could take the market down to, or the next 8 hours they could take it down to here? Now, if they can get the market down here in 8 hours, this is a fantastic trade plan. W ratio, 12 pip range. I could find a place to put it here. Right on this, we could retest that. So we could retest anything along the way. There's no end to the retest. In fact, right here, this wick, that if we're really going up, we may have to come down and stop these people and buy their stops off them. So I'd start my first drop there. And on this one, maybe you have a target of 50 pips because you have a 20 to make 50 because you're like, well, if they pull it back here and they're going to stop the people like they did here. Now, that, mind you, this is a 60, this is like a 70 pip pullback here. If you had this order here, right there, you didn't even make the whole move. Maybe you needed a 25 to make 75. See, now that would have been perfect. So your targets are here. These are all these ones that say limit grid drops are, when you put them above, their sell limits, and when you put them below, they're buy limits. So it's completely symmetrical trading. Now you could have a hotkey where you hit a button and it throws in those too. Just a little different style of trading, but it would throw in just right now. And how long does that last? 8 hours. So you're waiting for noon. By the time noon comes around, so right now it's 4:20 in the morning. Now this is the big there's London Open. The news came out earlier, and if you sold the Australian dollar at the 100-yard line, you're almost up 50 pips right now. Now that's my dumbass analysis from 4 pairs. Same thing on New Zealand. So you had a 50-yard line sell there. And British pound's pissed off. So we're going up. British pound's leading right now, looking for the euro to follow. The euro's definitely a lot tamer. And I definitely trade the euro dollar unless you've got a bunch of money. It's typically cheaper to trade the euro dollar because it's a little more well behaved. As far as the British pound right now, we just went down and smacked about a 50 pip wick on the 4 hours. So if you were trading that, you're just loving it because that is quick and dirty money on that pound. Yeah, they're above the Brexit. Looks like Brexit's finally going to kick in here. They're going to de-Brexitize it. But yeah, the demo. So I just put this in hotkeys, so if I program this, it'll come up. So that it'll all be grouped here under hotkeys, because this you can't put these drops on a hotkey. Those are drag and drops. So everything in here, there's single drops. Now if you don't want to get all fancy, then I created this directory called time, but that's not done. The time things, for people that want to trade a certain time frame, you could take your orders. Right now it's empty. The buys are full, but the sell is empty. No, the sell's full. The time one is you're going to have to open you got to rename them and say, okay, if you're looking at 4-hour trade plans, maybe you put them in there. So they really should customize all these trees to fit your view of the world. If you see the world by time, if you see the world by price, the grid drop is all price. This is price width, so 12 pips from top to bottom. So it's a bin. It's a 12 by 3 bin of orders. And then it's the time expiration to take in consideration there. Certainly the 1 hour, you can go down to 15 minutes. The 1 hour is pretty low risk, right? Especially if I put a 1 hour buy limit down here. What's the chance of getting filled on that? So that's what you're playing. You're playing probabilities and chance. What is the chance that the market could drop 1,000 pips in 14 seconds? So if you're putting your orders too deep and too high, you're not losing any money, but you're not getting filled. So you're not getting to see whether or not that was a good idea. If that was really a top becoming a bottom, or if it was just a bigger, like if tops become bottoms, the classic psychological creation of a top becoming a bottom is the people that when the market didn't move enough, comes back to the same point. That's what creates the pivot, the one guy's entrance is another guy's exit. So the guy that's been stomped out, somebody's going to pick up that and go the other way with it, because one man's meat's another man's poison. What happened? I guess when we went vegetarian, they dropped that. I haven't heard that in a while. So that's that's it. Other than the fact that it's really boring to trade, unless you're on the 5-minute chart and you're just in and out, back and forth, because now you're just going to get clobbered by the spread, I suppose. Whereas here's pretty tame. Now I'm trading, this whole account is set to a micro lot. It's a 0.01, and that makes a big difference too. If I would all of a sudden take this and double the size of any one of these things, it would. If you're used to trading with, you're used to driving a grocery cutter, where you can just punch it and just not worry about it, right? Like it's detuned, less damage, less less bad stuff can happen. So that's a consideration. But yeah, size matters certainly, and size matters too. I'm always amazed that these bugs can just latch on to upside down. But it has something to do with their mass, I suppose. Certainly ants have a real crazy ability to. They don't weigh much, shoot an ant with an elephant gun. That's the classic. So what I'm doing is just trading super high. It's not really high frequency. It's just high ticket number, high diversity. So a lot of high resolution, a lot of orders, and takes the load off your brain, because you don't know how far that in this 1 15-minute or this half-hour time frame that the crowd can overshoot the runway. Now the crowd's really good at that, as you can see by any society that goes from peaceful to out of their fucking mind. That the swing, right? The doldrums, from the doldrums of that to a giant storm. So that is the dynamics of nature. And the market's no different. So how do you accommodate these psychodynamics? The only way I can figure out is that they may slam it up and they may slam it down. And why do I care which way they take that? If you sold the 4 currencies I talked about at the 50 and the hundreds, or the 25s, with a wide enough stop, with even bad ratios, you made money in 2 days. Already you're up, right? So why did I care? Did I care whether or not Australia, New Zealand had some political? It wouldn't matter, right? You could just see that opportunity. You could see the vacuum that nature doesn't like to have vacuums last for too long. They cave in, or they leak or something. It's unnatural. That's what Ted Nugent said. It's unnatural. And you can take advantage of that. You take advantage of the exception that proves the rule, and the contrarian trader makes more money, although they claim that they're a higher risk trade because they're going against the crowd. It's ridiculous, right? It's just ridiculous. You feel like you're going, market's dropping and you're buying, and you're just like, oh man. Because now, how are you buying that? If you get in super small, you wouldn't notice it. And how you get in matters. So if you're placing buy stops above the last half hour and the market's dropping, you're not getting filled there. If your buy stops are disappearing every 15 minutes, every hour, and as the market's going down, you just keep putting in buy stops. No. It's tactical entry. Now, if you have buy limits that you're getting filled on, as it's coming down into these buy limits, hopefully you've done the math and You've got some that are going to make 5 pips, 10 pips, 15, 20, the whole spectrum of cashing out. And the big key is not to duplicate any orders. So if you see here, and I'm not really paying attention much on this account, but once you take it down to here, it's if you take this and scrunch it, you're going to say, my God, I mean, this is just like one order. When you stretch it like this and you can see too many tickets at one level, you want to smooth that out, because you're defeating the purpose of trading. It's no longer high resolution trading. It's too blotched out. So you definitely want to get like a smooth risk, like a soft risk coefficient, because you just don't want to overload. It may be like the best trade in the world, but it has to come down 10 more pips. So once you stretch this out, you can see the individual tickets. Now, it's quite a bit of tickets there. Here, I wouldn't mind so much having dense packs down here, because they're so outlandish that if it does go down there, it's a very, very much more better trade. Way more better. So I'll wait for another drop here. Here we go. Waiting for another pullback. So ultimately, it's going to come into, now that's the 1 hour key. And the half-hour traders are jumping on. So you see that retest? Now, that whole trade, the scalpers literally made money on this whole thing. Don't forget they bought there. We've been here. You can't see it. And they're out. And then they're reloading, possibly. I know I'll be reloading if it drops another 5 pips here. So I just keep nailing this key. This is the 1 hour. And here is the 1 hour also, but this is a deeper button. I kept everything on this platform to 1 hour because, of course, that's a bias stop, wrong key. Yikes. Because, you know, you can make it 4 hours, but if you really are going to babysit these markets, which is how you usually make more money, is taking advantage of every little thing as it's come. You can see the trains coming into the station. I guess you could say you're really running a train yard where the people that drive the trains they're seriously medicated. So really, they're indigent. They're needy. Very needy train station. And you're conducting this drama of really incompetent train drivers. What do you call them? Conductors? No, who's the guy? Engineers. Who do they call these people that drive the train? But that's what you have to picture, that you're actually in charge. They said, well, you know, we got a gig for you. They go, yeah, what is it? Well, it pays good, but you've got to manage a non-scheduled train station. And you've got to have, with unknown passengers, you know, everything's unknown. So the uncertainty principle. Uncertainty needs to be your friend, because that's what's going to give you the edge against the. Granted, there's people running the clouds and the moving averages here, and you can say, oh, well, I'm just going to follow the herd. Yeah, of course, but, you know, the herd, if the herd's waiting for confirmation, maybe you shouldn't be. This confirmation's kind of like for sissies. No offense to the women that are trading, but you just have to say, I could be right, I could be wrong. Let me put in enough orders to cover my bad trading style. So you're putting more orders in because you want to accommodate your lack of precision. You can't be precise. You cannot put up these butterflies. And these Fibonacci's, my God, man. I mean, whoever thought that that would ever work? Fibonacci. And then people will say, well, yeah, and then they put it on the wicks to even to blow your mind even further. They don't even put it on the line chart. They put it on the wicks. If it really did work, it would line up perfectly on the closing prices. And you can force it to work. You can say, well, there's a time frame, dropped in a time frame works. Same could be set for a moving average. Yeah, if you go to a smaller time frame or a bigger time frame. Okay, we're still waiting for a pullback. So I put the closed ticket in something called exit here, so I wouldn't accidentally or exit. I put close all. So I'm trying to keep the close all away from my. But I'm trying to make it so that when you come into the platform here, you have different modes. It's about like modalities. So here you would say, oh, I'm a limit trader, so it's pure limits. I started this demo on pure limits, limit only strategy or limit only tactics. And I'm still confused by the strategy, the term strategy when it comes to trading. What's your strategy? Well, to make money. How's that? I mean, I'm always perplexed about strategy. And, well, of course, the system, trading system seems to make more sense. But strategy, I'm still trying to figure out how to describe this strategy. But, yeah, it's funny how the markets move right into the news at a certain level, and it's also almost as if the party has the party has a limit, or the bars close at bar times a half hour, supposedly ahead of reality. Look at the British pound. Oh my God. Huge rally in the British pound. Yeah, that's I got to pull back here in this euro and load up on these limits here. Today's trade. So definitely, if you're short if you have the euro pound pair up. Now that's another thing. If you're jumping around all this stuff, that may be a little bit much to run these many orders and have that many things going on. Okay, I got a buy stop key here. Here's my buy limits. So I'm going to keep buying because it's only it's only 440, so there's plenty of so here's my buy stop key, which is really like buying at the market. It only makes 13 pips. See the target stacking up at the top here? Under the buy stops, isn't this the worst presentation to show you how this works? I can never charge anybody. I put this on a hotkey. This is hotkey number 2. BS, buy stop. So hotkey number 2. And that's the target. But it won't get in unless it goes up 2 pips. That's the 4-hour chart. Come back to starting gate. So I'm going to hit the buy stop there. Looks like we're going to go zooming up. Now my target's just above that 10-yard line. But since this account is so ridiculously, I'm just going to keep hitting the buy stop key. Now I'm going to put the buy limits in again. So I want to get in as much as I can here. That's the 1-hour buy limits. So these are deeper. These are 20 pips deep for an hour. Start at 10 pips and go down here. Big master stop down here. This is basically a bad risk to reward ratio. I think the top one gets out here. That's not bad. Okay, now I just got to chase it. You're screwed now. I don't have a choice there. So that was it. We came back and retested that on that 4 hour. Now you wouldn't notice that if you were on the half on this time frame here, you would have been thinking, "Oh, I should be short. What the heck's going on?" See, this is what's blowing people's brains out. If you go to the 30-minute chart, you have to realize when you drop down to the 30-minute, you're going to say, "What?" But you can see the triple bottom here on the. This way you can't even have bars on. You can switch time frames. You cannot have those. See the trap? That's the trap on the closing clock. You cannot have that stuff on there. So you know this is the low. You got buy limits sitting down here to buy lower. Oops, sorry. Like this. Damn. Like this. You're just going to buy down here like this. Just buy low. It's that simple. Okay, and then once they trap down here, I put in the buy stops. But see, you don't have to be on this time frame. You could be here. Why would you go down to that time frame and blow your brains out? You know you want to buy if it goes up. So you put a buy stop in, and you know you want to buy if it goes down. Because you want to buy. It's supposedly going up, right? But it's pulling back. I'll sell when it goes into uncharted land, though. So I'd start putting my sell grids up above it. I want to trade both directions. Here's the buy stop. And now I'm not in big enough. Right, you're never in big enough. Oh, British pound pull back. Wow, look at him pull that back. Amazing. Must be news coming out. How exciting. Huge opportunity there. Wow. Yeah, they really smash people's brains apart with these currencies. The British pound just fell 50 pips in 70 pips here in a blink of an eye. Amazing. Now take a look at that British pound trade there. You want to see a drama currency. Wow. You're not going to see that on the euro here. But you also won't blow up your account. Yeah, here it is. I don't know, must be news coming out. British pound. Check that out. That's the 1 minute British pound. I took it right to this doji here, this flat spot on the half hour. And there's your British pound for you. But see, for a 1 minute trader, they're like, oh yeah, few minutes on that trade. Amazing. Okay, we're still buying the pullback here. Pull back into this top. 10 pips to go. More buy limits. These are just the scalps, and then the nothing's set up here to make a bunch of money. Unfortunately, buy stop should be set to make more than 21 pips, but that's the system I'm trading right now, is to make 21 pips here. Make the retest of the high of the day, which is the high of the week. So we're just kind of trying to cut new ground here to the north on this. New Zealand. Not New Zealand, I mean the Eurodollar here. So yeah, the wave of the dollar is really on the creating quite a bit of volatility here. Getting some serious drama out of these currencies. I suspect the stock market's probably going through the floor or something. All right, here we go. Now we got to put buy stops in, chase it. Don't like to chase, but when the party's over, it's over. You know, top of the hour's coming too. Okay. Yeah. As long as it's green, we're buying. On stops, on limits, doesn't matter at this point. If everything's gauged to make a bunch of money in the upside, so let the market come to me. It comes to my limits. I've got terrible entries up here where I chase it. So the 1 hour is downtrend, 1 hour. The 1 hour is not too bad. If you go to the half hour, you're just going to lose your mind. Unless you've already lost it, and of course, then it's a perfect fit, but the 4 hours is just easier to manage. Still waiting to get filled on enough to ride this north. Okay, that's not the best target, but okay, I'm going to put in bigger targets on that. All right, now we wait.